After the success of the Forest of Enchantment, which was released in early 2019, Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni has come up with a new book called The Last Queen. So in this video, I'm going to give you a brief spoiler-free summary about what the book is, what I liked about the book, what I did not like about the book, and whether you should add The Last Queen to your bookshelf. So the book is primarily set in the 19th century Lahore, Punjab, where we follow life journey of this girl called Jindan Kaur from being a daughter of a Royal Kennel Keeper to becoming the queen of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. So the author has divided the books in 4 main parts, which are incidentally the life phases of Rani Jindan Kaur. The first being the girl, where we find out how difficult Rani Jindan Kaur's childhood was, coming from a very small village, from a modest family, and how difficult it was to survive a day also at that time. The second phase is bride phase, where we find out how much harassment Maharani Jindan Kaur had to face when she walked into the palace, and how much harassment she faced because she was coming from a modest family. She was a daughter of Royal Kennel Keeper, and the early bride phase of her life wasn't easy. The third phase is the queen phase, where we find out how many challenges she has to face from different parts of the communities, and also the Britishers when Maharani Jindan Kaur becomes the queen regent because her kid Maharaja Dalip Singh is only 6-year-old while taking the throne. And the last phase is the rebel phase, where we find out how she survives the Britishers' attack, and after dusting herself up, how she once again stands up to them. So now let's move on to what I like about the book. The first thing I liked about the book is the world building. Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni literally puts you into a time machine and takes you back to the early 19th century. The world that is built is beautiful. We really feel like we are in pre-independence Lahore. And I could imagine how the palaces, the people, the places must have looked in the early 19th century. The second thing that is absolutely the backbone of this story are the relationships that Maharani Jindan Kaur maintains with her brother, her husband, and her son. I think these are 3 different sets of relationships. The first kind of love is the unconditional love that she shares with her brother from her childhood. The second kind of love is the respectful love that she shares with her husband, and the third is that undying, unwavering love that she shares with her son Maharaja Dalip Singh. So these relationships are the backbone of the story, and they are beautifully described, beautifully portrayed in the book, and we really come to know how much Jindan Kaur loves these 3 important people in her life. The author does such a fantastic job at building the relationships that I really felt the inner turmoil that Rani Jindan Kaur must have faced when she had to part away from her brother, or when she had to pay her last respect to her husband, or when her kid was taken away from her. The third part that I absolutely loved about this book is the book cover. I mean, just look at this book cover. It's beautifully done. It's the portrait of Rani Jindan Kaur, and the book does mention about her son trying to make an effort to make a portrait of Rani Jindan Kaur, and I think that portrait is shown here. It's beautiful. One additional thing I liked about this book cover is I'm going to show you. If you remove the top cover, then look at this. Wow, look at the sword, and it's written here, beautifully done. I think this is absolutely brilliant, and kudos to the publisher, to the designer of the cover art, and to the author for coming up with this beautiful cover. Now let's look at what I didn't like about the book. The first thing being, it felt rushed. I mean, I don't know whether it was a conscious effort from the author or the publisher, but the book was kept to 360 pages. The last book of the author was also of 360 pages. So I don't know whether there was a conscious effort to edit a lot of part, but there were few incidences where there was a lot of build-up done for it, and then that particular incident was completely skipped. For example, there was a wedding that was going to take place in palace, and there was a lot of build-up how who's going to dress what for the wedding. It was described how Mai Naikin, who's the oldest queen of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, was planning to humiliate Rani Jindan Kaur by telling her to dress something else, and actual dress code was something else. And then how Rani Jindan Kaur fortunately finds out, and then she saves herself from being humiliated. But the problem with this was when the actual wedding happened, it was completely skipped. The wedding wasn't shown, the incident wasn't shown, and we were given with this presumption that she completely avoided the humiliation, where there was a lot of build-up of how she did it. So the actual incident, the reaction of my Nikean would have been nice to see. There were a couple of other incidences also where it felt like there was a certain build-up given to it, and then that incident was skipped completely. The second thing I didn't like about the books are the additional characters that are there in the book. The main character, Rani Jindan Kaur, and her family is very beautifully done. It's very nicely described and all that. But apart from those 5-6 characters, the rest of the characters are pretty one note. I mean, I know that it's a historical fiction book, so there are going to be a lot of characters, and it's almost impossible to give context and flesh out each and every character. But apart from that 5-6 characters, every other character came off as one note character. There were a lot of personal replacements and changes in the Darbar, but every single new addition felt like that person was just a new name of a person was replacing the old one. There were no different traits to that person that much, and they were either bad or good. There was no grey part of it. So that was something that I didn't appreciate much, but these were the only two things that I didn't like about the book. So now we'll come to the final question, whether you should add this book to your bookshelf, and the answer is definitely. If I have to give rating to this book, I will give 4 out of 5 stars with additional half a star given for this beautiful book art and book cover. And if you look at my things that I didn't like about the book, one thing is quite sure, that I would have loved to spend more time in this era with Rani Jindan Kaur. So the journey of Rani Jindan Kaur is full of adventures, and I am glad Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni decided to throw light on this forgotten queen, thereby ensuring that the history doesn't remember Rani Jindan Kaur only as the last queen, but also arguably Punjab's greatest queen. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you like this review. If you like it, don't forget to like this video, share it with your fellow historical fiction lovers, and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comment section whether you would want to add this book to your shelf, or whether you have already added this book to your shelf. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you after your next read.